Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Dental Up Podcast, brought to you by Keating Dental Arts, a full-service, award-winning dental laboratory. Each week, you'll learn tips and techniques from real-world dentists, bringing you in-depth interviews, motivating stories, current events, and sports. Here's your host, Sean Keating.
Hey everyone, Sean here. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Up Podcast. Our guest this week is a graduate from the University of Detroit Dental School, and he completed the Advanced Comprehensive CEREC Training Course in Cosmetic, Implant, and Restorative Dentistry. Practicing from Irvine, California, please welcome Dr. Charles Brown, DDS. How's it going, Dr. Brown?
It's just fine.
Thank you so much, man. I thank you for all the work, dude. And you're just around the corner in our neighborhood in Irvine. That's the first dentist I've had in Irvine that came out to do a podcast. And I just can't thank you enough, man. I know you just got out of work and came on over to the lab, so thank you, and good to see you, man.
Same here.
That's so neat. Hey, I always start off talking a little bit about sports. I'm not sure if you're into sports at all, but watching a little bit of football last night, Cleveland, and heck, it was 5-0 game, man. That's like a baseball or a hockey game. It was 5-0, and they played the Cleveland Browns, played the Philadelphia Eagles, who is the world champions, and they look horrible. The Eagles look horrible, and they had Nick Foles, the starting quarterback from the Super Bowl. But you watch much football or into football at all, or little?
I love the NFL, love college, and I just read this morning where the Philadelphia head coach doesn't think Nick Foles is going to be around much.
I know. I couldn't believe he said that, but I think they might have took it out of context in a way, and he was getting beat up a little bit. The fact that he said in the interview is something like he seen him in the first half. He had seen enough of him there, so he wanted to go to the other quarterback. But they put it like, I seen enough of him, and that's it. He was done, you know. And it's, hey, he got him to the Super Bowl, and he won that game. So you can't throw him under the bus too quick. But I think they came out of context on that. But yeah, I read that, and I'm thinking, what a knucklehead coach to say that to your star player, man. Yeah. And especially Wentz is, who knows if he can get back, you know, their number one pick. But yeah, it's kind of neat. And then we got the Lakers. That's kind of a little bit different. LeBron coming around town. What do you think about that?
I'm not a big basketball fan, but I would say that I've always watched the playoffs. And it's pretty exciting that he's come to LA. I don't know that much about basketball. I kind of am a March Madness person for college.
There you go.
And it'll be interesting to see what the Lakers, what they can do with this.
Yeah, because they haven't done anything for several years now. And I don't think one guy can just do it. But at the end of the day, the dude has been to the finals the last 8 years in a row with 2-3 different teams. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, but he makes people better around him. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be something. I'm a big basketball guy, but lately with the Lakers, I kind of like this, the playoffs too. And I'm a big March Madness guy too. We do a pool that I just love to see the competition, who's going to win. Always, I like the underdog and all that kind of stuff. But it'll be kind of interesting with the Lakers this year to see how they do and, you know, how they react with LeBron, you know, in the mix now. So that's pretty cool there. Well, hey, let's dental up. So tell me a little bit about where you attended dental school, your undergraduate, stuff like that, if you could, Doctor.
Well,
Brown.
went to Wayne State University, which is a city college in Detroit.
Okay.
I used to live in Michigan.
No kidding.
Then after that, went to University of Detroit, which at the time was in downtown Detroit. Has since then is actually now called University of Detroit Mercy. They merged with Mercy College about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And from there, went into practice in Warren, which is a suburb of Detroit.
Okay.
And practiced there for a while. Went from being an associate then to having my own practice. And somewhere along the way decided I wanted to, no offense to those of you in Michigan, I decided I wanted to leave, got the opportunity to go practice in Boston.
Okay.
And it turned out to be a good thing for me because I got a position where even though I was a general dentist, I was working with a group of 3 prosthodontists for about 8 or 9 years. And that was great experience, even though I was low man on the totem pole and constantly had to go for them for advice and stuff. you learn so much in
I
a
bet.
situation like that. So it was great.
Oh, that's really neat. Yeah, to be able to, see what they're doing, the big boys like that. And I tell all these students starting off, and especially, just get a mentor, get some experience, even if it's in one of the mills. I mean, you're going to see a lot of patients, you're going to do a lot of different things, but to get your chops sharpened, it's you got to get in the trenches. So I think what would be better than have a few prosthodontists helping you out at the beginning there. So Boston, man, I love Boston. My dad's from Boston, little place called Dorchester.
Oh, no, well, yeah.
There's a little Irish Catholic enclave of Irish people there back in the early 1900s when my dad came in, and he was born like 1930, but gosh, that's a trip, man. So then how'd you come on all the way down to the OC? How'd that happen?
Well, I was one day in the middle of winter, and I made a remark while I was cross-country skiing that when I retire, I wanted to go to warm climate. And the person I was with looked at me and said, well, why are you waiting? And then the little time bomb in my head started clicking, and I thought, this makes sense. So after looking for, about 6 months, I went to Arizona. I had an opportunity here in California where one of my ex-classmates from school, who I used to just stay in touch with once or twice a year, actually had been in one of the mills you had previously described, decided he wanted to go out on his own and open his own practice, and invited me to come out and be a partner, which was probably at that time a little daring, but I decided at that point, what the heck. So I did it, and I was very glad. We opened our practice in Irvine in 1990, and we were in a shopping center, so it was supposed to be for foot traffic. And after 10 years of that, we decided that we wanted something, I hate to use the word more professional, but we wanted to be in a medical building. So I am now obviously very close to your lab here. So we moved to a medical building right in Irvine, and it's been 20 years there, and it's very good. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. No, I love it, man. Yeah, you are real close. Tell me a little bit about the layout of your practice. How many ops you got? And tell me a little bit about your staff, if you could.
Well, when we originally built the office in 90, we were doing HMO dentistry.
Okay.
And if those of you out there know what that is, it's a capitation system. And we only did it because in 1990, as far as I recall, here in California, the economy was a little slow. And when you take on the financial responsibilities for all the money it takes to build out, get your place up and going and everything, we realized that was the only way we're going to make it. You need some guaranteed monthly income so you don't have to worry about the nut. So at the same time, since there were two of us, we had the practice, and each of us worked part-time someplace where we could earn a living. So the practice, until it actually started turning, cash profit, we took, I think my partner left first, his place, and it took me about 2 years until I was full-time at the practice. And that practice, we had 9 ops. So when we came here, we just transferred the same number of chairs.
Okay.
And then after a couple of years, we decided, you know what, we were tired of doing capitation. We knew that we had a good base of patients, and we decided, you know what, we're going to slowly cut back until we can be a little picky on which plans provided the best reimbursement. And slowly, I think it took 5 years, we eventually eliminated all HMO, stuck with the PPO. And again, we're a little choosy, picked the good PPOs that were providing a decent, fee for your service. And even now, I'd say we probably have like 50% PPO and 50% quote indemnity insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Much fee for service?
Well, that's what I'm calling indemnity. Fee for service.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know how guys just have. I have a lot of guys in certain areas. It's just fee for service, man, and it's just kind of good for them. But it's few and far between in most areas that people can truly afford, the full nut of what it costs to, get a crown or get some, even extractions and stuff. It's tough for some people, but I see how you can. You need to take insurance in certain areas. And even too, like in this area of California, I heard like Blue Cross just keeps cutting it. And it's like, it's like 40% of what you used to get 10 years or 5 years ago. It's just, I don't know how they can do that as they get richer, but they just give less. I mean,
I also found from experience that in a city like Irvine, there's a lot of, I don't want to use the word transient, but people who are not here for a long period of time. There's a lot of businesses. They bring in their, the people from outside. They're here for a couple of years and then they're gone.
Exactly.
So the business provides them with a choice of a PPO or an HMO, and usually, quote, indemnity isn't even a choice. So if you're gonna, try to be competitive here, you gotta participate in what's realistic for you.
Exactly.
And I know there are the elite practices, for lack of a better word, that can command and get the fees. But we all know that they use Keating Lab just like I do. Exactly. So even though they charge twice as much, they're delivering the same crown.
Exactly. And it's just something that there's so few and far between those big ones. I mean, I've said it before on different podcasts, like here we are right here. We got Irvine here. You got a block over here is Tustin. A block over here is Santa Ana. And a block this way is Newport Beach. And they're so skewed on the pricing. It's just like area, zip code. And it's such a ridiculous thing. But, in Irvine, it's tough. It's very expensive to live here. I feel for the young children and coming up. I mean, you need a really good education. You need a high salary to be able to afford an apartment here. I mean, apartments, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments are like over $2,000. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, when you're making, a lot of these people are, it's just tough. It's a tough thing, but I thank you for I'm blessed that I got through that, and my children, they're in their 30s now, and man, knock on wood, I just, it's tough, man, but, and it's, especially dentistry, it's a tough, we have so many dentists around in this area, there's dentists in every corner, and it's like, gosh, competition, and then it's just like, well, do you take my insurance and was that cover the whole thing? And it's like, no, we, that covers $200 of this $1,000 crown, dude. It's like, and you get x-rays, man, for the year, but you got like $1,500 total is what you have for the year. And, but I feel for you guys, it's a tough business no matter where you're at, what state. You got to have it together and have good staff, and, you better treat people good and do good dentistry, because those people are talking to other people and they can make or break your practice a lot of times. And so I just think, do the good deed, treat the people good, and, take the insurances that you can afford to do. And yeah, I think it's important for sure. Well, so tell me, Dr. Brown, what's one of your favorite procedures in dentistry? What do you like doing? And maybe tell me a little bit about what you don't like doing.
I pretty much like anything restorative, like cosmetic, like removable. Maybe years ago, I would say that I found dentures difficult to do, but nowadays with implants, especially on the lower arch, makes doing dentures more comfortable, because the one thing I think even to this day I won't do, if a patient comes in and wants upper lower dentures and either they've never had them, I try to totally discourage the lowers. And if they come in with their bag of dentures, I definitely won't touch it, because I know that they just can't be pleased.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing, man. It's nice if we can stick a 22 and 27, at least, even if I can't get full implants, some minis or something, just to lock and load it in, because more so than not, that ridge is gone, and it's just so hard to grab onto. And dentures, man, I've done quite a few for relatives and stuff, and I cringe every time. It's like, dude, because I'm a fixed guy, man. I love fixed prosthodontics. Removal, man, it's like, And, so you've been working with Jim, obviously, McEachern, and some of the other guys, I'm sure, but it's a lost art too, man. There's not many people that do it in the dental technology aspect of it, but a lot of my dentists, man, I mean, probably 95% of all our work is fixed here, and 5% is the removable. But I did it because, we do a lot of combo attachment cases that works with fixed, and I just hated working with other labs or whatever, trying to coordinate, where I'm setting these PDs or I'm setting these ERAs, and you got to work in conjunction with the removable. So that's why we did it from pretty much first day. well, the first year or so I said, oh, we got to do removable too. So we do full service, but it's a freaking nightmare. It's a nightmare, and we don't make any money at it. It's just a service that we have to do to complement our fixed work. But it is very rewarding. Some people, that's all they have. And, but when we can stick an implant here and there and stuff like that, or some locators or something just to hold them in, it's really neat. And poor people, I remember my mom, when she was young, she had her lower teeth, I think, all extracted, and it was like, I don't know why they did it back then. And her upper teeth, I remember in the 90s and stuff, or late 80s, we did her upper, and, I did a fixed bridge up there, a couple segments, but she had a lot of upper teeth, but it had a lower denture. And it's like, how'd that happen? Well, something, cavities or this and that. And the doctor just decided back in the 40s or 50s, they extracted them back then. It's like, what the heck? And kind of tough, but okay. So, what do you outsource? Do you like, are you doing your endo? Are you sinking implants? You use an oral surgeon? Tell me about what you do and what you don't do.
I have a philosophy. If I can't do something as well as a specialist, I don't do it, because that's what you're going to be held up to when it comes to the standard of care. And I'm very fortunate. I have an incredible endodontist here in Orange County, and he's one of the best I've ever worked with. And I worked with some great ones in Boston, but this guy's great. And he gets all my endo.
Beautiful.
And I used to do surgery, but I stopped probably about 10 years ago. For those of you who don't know, I'm 65, and I just don't have the strength in my hand to do surgery the way I used to. So I'm fortunate. I have a partner now who's 15 years younger than me, and he does all the oral surgery. And I used to enjoy doing it, but like I said, I just, don't want to wake up the next day with a sore elbow or hand or whatever it is, because I had a difficult extraction. And don't do implants, only probably because of my age. If I was getting out now, I definitely would do it because I find it fascinating. I've worked enough with surgeons that I watch the procedure. I don't feel it's that difficult. If you're doing extractions, you definitely can do implants. They're made even more easy nowadays, with the guides and everything. So before you had to worry about your angulation and everything, and I'm sure if you went to one of these couple day courses, you could, master it in a short period of time. And I think that's one of the critical things when you're deciding what you want to do when you're starting out. If you don't really like doing something, just don't do it. There are plenty of people that you can refer out to. And back to my original point, if you're not comfortable doing something, don't do it just because you think you have to, because you got to make the monthly nut in your office, because that's the time where you're going to break a file in a molar or break a root tip and not be able to go retrieve it. And it's just not worth the nightmare that, can come from that.
No, that's good advice. And a lot of guys just try to push it, but I can see you getting experience by pushing it, but yet I think for longevity, look at, you've been doing this thing for a long time and you're a happy guy, you're kicking ass, and you're just, just enjoying life. And I think that's a kind of a neat thing to where, you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you can't do it as good as a specialist, why do it? And do what you like to do and what you're comfortable with and what lets you sleep at night. And, the only thing I could see is some patients, they like to go to the one-stop shop and, just do it. And I could see doctors getting kind of enticed into, well, let me see if I can do this. I can probably do this and that. And I could see that. But again, like you said, you break a file or you have something that just perfs and, oh man, it's like, dude, you ain't going to lunch today. You're going to be working on this. And, even too, when some of my guys on some of the bigger bridges, I got these guys that do some big roundies all the time with me, but they're horrible at endo. And it's just, they don't want to do it. But yet they're in certain areas, it's hard to get them to do endo right away when they're in knee deep into this freaking upper case. And I got a canine that's out in left field this way, and, a molar, it's this way. And, we could do stress breakers, telescopic copings to try to get the path of insertion right. But more so than not, I think, out of these 8 preps, we need endo on 2 of them for sure, dude, because I got to bring it up about 3 millimeters. And I know once we see red, we're dead. And so that will hamper the case quite a bit when the doctor doesn't have that dialed in. So maybe we can just go to a temporary situation in those situations. But more so than not, we got to get these final impressions and on and on. But it's just, it's neat how it does work when you do it right. And, you're not pushed by, the patient or the time constraints, and let's do it right. And then there's sometimes where we got to get this right. And so I'll do reduction copings, and I'm letting them know, dude, you're going to have to on 6 and 11, man. We're bringing these in. So maybe get them out to the endodontist now, because when this comes back, you're going to have to cut about half this prep. And they're like, okay. And then they got to tell the patient, okay, dude. And then, well, it's what, $1,300 in that root canal each. So that's an extra 20. I'm not paying that. And then sometimes the doctor has to eat that if it's not in the whole thing, or there's a lot of ways to that, how to take care of that. But I'm glad I work on just stone models, and I'm not with those live patients all these years, because I know with what you guys got to go through, I've seen it, and it's tough. It's tough sometimes, especially when you're doing bigger stuff and bigger, more complicated cases, and get it done right at the beginning, and I find that best. But all right, so tell me a little bit about your marketing strategy. What do you guys do? Do you guys do social media? Are you doing mailers? You're working with the public sector? Tell me a little bit about that, how you drive patients to your practice.
Well, I can't tell you specifically which groups we deal with, but we have 2 companies that at the beginning of each calendar year give us a schedule of all the businesses within, say, a 15-mile radius of our office. And we have a couple of girls that go out with our marketing, stuff. Okay. That they set up a booth and meet the employees during their lunch break or whatever. That works out pretty well. That's I'd say probably 3 to 4 times a year, depending on the zip code, we have mailers to go out to the resident areas surrounding our office. Okay. And it rotates in such a way that the mailers go out every month, but we might only touch a specific zip code 4 times a year. Then we also have a couple of staff members that keep up to date with all the
Facebook and
exactly,
social media.
All that stuff. And at my point in life, I'm not on Facebook. So,
dude, I'm kind of with you there.
I know what it is, but don't care to get into it. So that's
I know. I got stuff from friends I haven't seen from high school in 40 years and elementary school, and it's like, dude, you don't look like
like your picture.
Yeah. And then me too. They look at me and they go, what happened to you, Sean? Like, my hair's silver. And I'm like the same height, but I'm like 100 pounds heavier. And it's like, man, life, dude. That's what happens. It's kind of crazy how that works. And I had a thing that I got on way back in the day, like 2002 when I started. It was Dental Town. And Dental Town's kind of like our Facebook for us growing up back then in the dental field. And, I used to get so enamored in that where, because I would be talking with dentists all the time and showing cases, and it was just like, oh, I'd be home at dinner and just like off in space, and Shannon's like, what's going on, Sean? I go, well, I had this one crown that a doctor pulled up about us and said he didn't like the shading, and then it just really gets to you. But then it was like I was like a little girl, 8th grade, and I think people get that way when, you start talking with peer to peer, and it's just kind of a neat thing. But I went through that for 4 or 5 years, and then, you got to cut that off after a while, because it's like, 12-step program, people get into it. And I can see the Facebook thing. Like, so I'm not phased with the Facebook thing. I don't do pictures, and I do a little bit, for the company, but on my personal page, they had that, and I've never posted a pic. My boys or someone will put something up there, but I don't know. It's like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like, it's kind of weird. And it's like, hey, look what I mean. It's like, no. I mean, if I did all the stuff that I ate and all that, they would think, look at this dude. What the heck is he all, 2 lobsters and a freaking 8-pound T-bones? It's just crazy. But I can see how people get into that. And I don't know how much it works really, because with us, my audience is dentist only. I mean, I can't, I could try to go to the patient and say, hey, tell your dentist, but that's just an uphill battle. That's just hard. So we're trying to just pigeonhole the dentist, and then dentist doesn't want to get booked on Facebook by a lab, I would think. I don't know. So I don't know, when a lot of our stuff, it might, we have these little ads or these little pictures, and I hope I'm not spamming them out there too much, but it's just, I don't know. I have too much of a conscience, I think, that when you do that stuff, because I don't like to be, and it follows you around and stuff. Even me, my ads follow me, and I think the guys that are doing our marketing for us do it on purpose. And it's like, I don't want to go and say, quit sending this, because that'll probably make it a bad. I don't know how that stuff works, but I go, yeah, dentures and partials and your digital dental lab. It's like, what the heck? I'm reading something about John Travolta, and all of a sudden, Keating Dental Arts in the middle of nowhere. It's like, kind of makes you feel good a little bit. Then I bet after a while, because I see him over and over a little bit, it's like, dude, okay, enough already. But I don't know. I think it's how they do that with that marketing stuff. It wears you down. Let's order something. Or Amazon does the same kind of stuff, follows you. Hey, Sean, you bought this. Hey, what about this? One click, get it. And it's like, oh, like today, just before you came in, I got a motor or a battery for my motor, little Honda Grom. I can't charge it, and it's like I let it die too many times. So one click there, and a socket set. I don't have this little bolt I got to get off, and I got like pliers and crescent wrench, and I don't really have sockets. I'm not a real mechanical type guy, so I got me a little $20 socket set and a battery with one click. It'll be there tomorrow. And it's like, dude, that's just so freaking amazing how that works. And I was just reading the paper at lunch here, and Wall Street Journal had it to where Toys R Us, man, like 33,000 people losing their jobs, and they're going to do a bankruptcy. But then the venture capitalists that own whatever they own, they're saying, no, we're liquidating because it's cheaper to get rid of the whole thing, and we'll make more money off it than restructuring it, because it's like $5 billion in debt. And, it's just so sad, So 33,000 people are out of jobs from all over the U.S., like 900 stores. And it's just because the bean counters want their money, and they're going to get more by just dissolving it all. And they're just saying, basically, Amazon just killed it because they got all these toys at half or a quarter of the price, and they can deliver them to you. And it's just like kind of sad, man. How it changes the brick and mortar things and all that stuff out there. But yeah, got a little sidetracked there, but okay. So what's like the latest piece of equipment that you've got in your office? Purchased anything lately?
Upgraded to the latest generation of X-ray sensors because our originals were like 10 years old.
Okay.
We have a couple of hygienists in the office, and I was at a course last year, and I saw I think they call it a linear piezo scaler, and we've got 3 of them now. And one of our hygienists was sick this week, so I got to do some prophies. Yeah. And I found it's quite amazing. It's very kind to the patient, very quiet compared to like a Titan scaler, and is so adjustable that you don't have to worry if you have it on the lower settings that you're going to be removing cementum or dentin when you're down on the root.
Okay.
So I think it's really good.
Is that like a Cavitron?
It's like a Cavitron, but I felt Cavitrons are way too powerful compared to what the hygienists especially, they both came from using Cavitrons, and then one of them migrated over to the Titan scaler, and they both use the linear piezo almost exclusively now. We have a Titan still, but I don't think it's ever used.
You know what? I just went to across the street. I couldn't get my teeth cleaned by my regular dentist, so I went across the street because they were just getting a little, I could feel it on my lingual and my tongue there. And a regular hygienist, she just scales it, and I love the way it goes into the gums and the scraping. I love that, but I think they had this over here, this Cavitron type thing, and it was the neatest thing, and it came in and did my teeth, and really amazing, really clean feeling, and it just really got them really clean, and it was a neat thing. I bet you it was that. Because I didn't even ask him about it, but I bet you it was the same similar thing.
Well, I think the benefit for the hygienist and even the dentist that use an item like that, it's much less stressful on your hand and your wrist. So you're less likely to develop a complication over overuse of your hand.
Yeah.
And I just think you have to think about those things. If you want a long career, try to purchase or get using those things that make your life easier.
We have a big thing that's prevalent in the dental lab industry is carpal tunnel syndrome, and it's just from grinding with those hand pieces all day. And You just got to have certain exercises, and just it's so important that you really take care of it, because you're working with your hands all day and you're just grinding, and it just it's too bad, because the surgeries are pretty invasive when they do go in there, and yeah, tough. So yeah, we definitely do that and make sure we have our eyes covered, because there's only 2 eyes you're going to get, and a lot of things come flying out, those discs and stuff breaking. So tell me about, do you attend dental conventions or gatherings? Tell me a little bit about that.
I would say for a good part of my career, I used to go see Gordon Christensen annually. Okay. I liked his update. In the last couple of years, he actually shuns California now. And
why he doesn't like us?
No, I don't know. I used to get to go see him in Anaheim. I noticed now he's pretty much Las Vegas. And, he's getting at a point in his life where he doesn't do a lot of traveling, but still, I think he's, near 80?
Yeah, I think he's amazing.
So he's a pretty amazing guy, and he still practices a couple days a week.
And his wife, Rella, she's a spitfire. She's she's rolling along.
But I enjoyed him because he's a nuts and bolt type of guy. Tells you what products work in his experience, which ones don't. Even when it came to procedures, he was always out there, trying everything. And if it didn't work or he didn't feel it was worth the effort, then he kind of let us know. And I occasionally would go to a convention, but at this point, I don't see that much new that comes out when you go to conventions. Mm-hmm. And I don't take my continuing education at conventions only because I don't feel, at this point, I don't want to go over things that I've known about for a long time. Mm-hmm. I try to seek out continuing education courses that I have an interest in. And that's pretty much the way I've been going probably for the last 7-8 years or so.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on new technology in dentistry, like compression scanners, CAD/CAM, etc. I know that you're a big CEREC guy, aren't you?
No, sorry. I was.
Okay, you were.
No,
that's what I meant.
That's why you're doing my crowns now.
Yes, drop the mic.
Little plug.
Nah, that's so cool, dude. Well, tell me about.
I used CEREC from 2007 probably through 2011, or maybe it was 10. But once I saw your zirconia crowns. Mm-hmm. And I went into it slowly because I've been burned in the past, not by your lab, but just materials that I would try. And they, the manufacturers tell you how great they are. And the labs really aren't to blame because they're listening to the manufacturer. Yeah. So, you'd go and you'd use it. And then a couple years later, you'd evaluate what they look like based on wear and tear compared to other materials. And then you'd say, no, I'm not happy with this. Yeah. And my problem with CEREC, and not only my own, but I see a lot of other CERECs coming in, is they're probably great for supragingival restorations, but crowns, and I haven't used it for a number of years, so those of you CEREC users don't come down on me on this. But I just think that zirconia is a great material. Your new translucent zirconia is fantastic. I have, for probably the last year and a half, I've only used anterior zirconia crowns. That's awesome. The translucency is great. And I've even gone against the advice of your lab a couple times because I find that if I can take a tooth that maybe was dark, I can put a composite basically build up even on whatever remaining tooth structure. Or if some cases I noticed my endodontist will send me back a core buildup that uses that bright white opaque composite. And even though I know it's strong, I'll go in there, reduce the core about 1 millimeter, build it up with a A2 regular composite material. And I find you can use your translucent zirconia and you can get a beautiful, beautiful result with
Absolutely.
it. So I'm kind of, when I treatment plan, that's what I'm counting on. In fact, Monday back in the office, I have a crown that I know I'm going to have to do that for, number 9. And I just find that trying to do, porcelain covered zirconia for some reason just doesn't have the quality that your translucent zirconia does. It's just a great material.
Yeah, it is. We really love it, and our doctors are loving it. I mean, it mimics, if not even surpasses, like Emax in the anterior segment.
I agree.
I think it just blends in their own environment so nicely, and I used it in a posterior bridge on myself. I just love the aesthetics, and the strength is there. If I can get 3x3 connectors this stuff is not breaking, and it's strong as heck. And I'm at like 18, 19 Ponic and 20 abutment, and it's been in there 6 months now, and I've grown the heck out of it, and it looks good. And so it can be anteriorly, posteriorly, just as long as you got enough support and everything else on your connectors and your your thickness of the the restorations themselves. Man, this stuff is the real deal. And heck, the pricing's almost like back in the 90s, to keep it around $100 is pretty amazing. That it's just crazy. Where PFMs, I mean, we do PFMs, and then we have to charge an alloy. Unless it's a base alloy, it's just one flat rate price. But our PFMs can get up there at $150, $175, $200 if it's a high noble, and it weighs 2 or 3 pennyweights, just depending. I mean, gold's still up there, $1,400 an ounce. Kind of crazy, but we still do a lot of PFMs. But man, this zirconia, my sanity with the breakage for all 33 years of making teeth, I just love it now, where we take that variable out pretty much. There's no breakage. And now, like you said, even back with the Emax, before Emax, we had Eris, but that stuff all broke. And, Empress too, that kind of stuff kind of broke. And, we got burnt, art glass back in the day. That used to peel off like a hard boiled egg, man. And it's like, what the heck? And then, then we got these composite hybrids. It was supposed to be the best next thing. And I forgot the name of that one, but that kind of was leaking in the mouth, freaking absorbing all the bonding mediums into it. But this stuff's the real deal, especially with the aesthetics now, because before, just like you were saying with the CEREC, behind the lips it fits back in that day, and it looked like a popcorn kernel, and it was white, and but fit, you got it, and he did it in the office, and it was a great thing. And it's evolved with Ivoclar, with their, with their ingots and stuff. And so they got some nicer ingots, but yet, at the end of the day, it's for certain practices. You see a couple patients a day, or you want to do a couple onesie twosies here and there. I can see it, working, and it's looking better, but nothing like a lab process, indirect restoration.
Plus, I think your lab's probably moving that direction. That impressions with scanners are the wave of the future.
Ooh, it really
and
are.
we'll just have a little drone from your lab come over to my place and drop it off 2 hours later, and I'll just submit it in.
If we could do that, I'll do it. Amazon probably, that Bezos dude, Sean, I could send it to all 50 states of these drones. I'm like, yes, sir. But I almost want to get it, because we got these carbon printers, man, that they are just so on top of it, the service. And so we're doing all our models now and everything for all our implant cases, where that's the only thing we had to outsource back, through the last few years. But so we're doing them in-house. But I almost, just for the accuracy, I want to just start scanning every impression for the dudes that aren't doing them. They're doing conventional impressions. That's fine. We're almost up to 25% of us being scanned coming into us on our monolithics, and where it used to be like 2-3%. Now up to 25% of our work in the monolithic areas are all digital coming into us that way. But I want to get it to where every impression I get in for all my regular work and everything, I want to scan those myself and just do my own printed models instead of me pouring them, letting them dry, pinning them, cutting them, pinning them, indexing, all that. It's quite a bit of, it's a lot of moving parts in the plaster department to pour a case up. I mean, there's several steps to it, and you got impression material likes to do their things, but then when you have stone that's expanding and then contracting and come back, and it's all liquid powder ratios got to be on the money, and they got to be a really good company that's making your stone, because you can just have the most nightmares in the world by, well, it fits the model, it should fit in the mouth. Well, my model was expanded by 3% more than it should have, because the science behind the liquid powder ratios in the R&D of that company wasn't proper. So we have to do our own test on our own steel dies. We do inlay tests and onlays on expansions, and we do that with our investment for casting, and then we also do it with our stone and liquid and gypsum powders in our plaster department. But if I can go and scan it, the computer's not going to lie to me. They're going to give me exactly what that impression says without us trying to distort it by this hot material and stone going and doing all that stuff. But it's going to be a little bit more on my end, but it's a little bit more labor intensive, and just to be able to go in and have these machines, it's quite expensive. But at the end of the day, for me, it's just the consistency and accuracy is what I'm all about. If I'm going to lose a little bit on it, let that be, because I can take that other variable out that is another little variable they have with, expansions of impression material and pouring of models. We could do it digitally with our printers, man. And so we're looking at that, but then I got to get a bunch of these printers because we got a few hundred cases a day to do that way. And that's going to be a little learning curve, just not learning curve, but just manpower, different, almost like IT guys coming in to be able to make sure we got everything dialed in. And, but then the technicians having to know exactly, in certain areas that, we have to pour this one with stone. This has implants here and there. And so we'll always be doing pouring models in certain situations. But if I can scan these things and do them through the machine, that I can get these accurate models, so accurate, and it's just do them through the day and night, because we have a night crew and those machines just work. So it's exciting for me to think about, our model work being all digital going in the future. But yeah, pretty cool. Kind of probably boring for some people to hear that little rant, but I get excited about it. I was like, thank you, Lord. Let's get this in here. But nothing but money, a couple $100,000 more and more machines, right? And you need more people to run them. No, it's all good. So tell me, what do you like to do when you're not working? What do you do to keep yourself in sanity? Keep your sanity.
Well, I recently moved to an area where there's a bunch of hiking trails because I used to live in Irvine, but was little restricted to where I could go because almost always had to jump into a car to drive 3 miles to get to a hiking trail.
Yeah.
So I moved to a place now where I'm just south of us in Mission Viejo, and I've got trails everywhere, and just like to get lost for a couple hours. And
that's good. I need to walk my big fat butt a little bit more. I do. My wife does. She walks every day, and she's so good. And I just kind of come into work and sit on my chair, and then I go home, sit on the drum set, then I sit in front of the TV, and I got to quit sitting and get my butt out there. Okay, you might want to cut that, David. We don't want to give TMI a little too much information there. So what concerns do you have about the future of dentistry?
I think that most dentists have to be concerned about what dental insurance companies are doing to the dental profession. Most people, when they get a job, they get dental insurance with that job. And because of that, the employers who pay for the insurance premiums are trying to limit their dollars in what they spend in both medical and dental. And the way I see it, this might be wrong, because their medical costs have gone up in recent years, they are trying to decrease their overall medical costs. And where do they cut? They cut in dental. So where in the past they might have offered a choice of an HMO and a PPO, and maybe the person who was making the choice had a little more removed from their paycheck to pay for the PPO, a lot of them now are only getting a PPO as the only option. I'm sorry, an HMO as the only option. And I think that hurts dentistry a lot because most people, and you can't blame them, don't know the difference. To them, it's 3 different letters and they have no idea. And they expect all dental offices are the same. And if you're in the profession of dentistry, I just don't see how an HMO office can deliver you the same care as any type of office that's able to give you the options. And as you know from earlier in our conversation, I did HMO dentistry. And while I did it, I followed all the rules and I gave every patient the same quality crown or filling that I did my regular patients. But after a while, you realize it's tough to deal in only that type of situation. And my other concern is when you're getting out of dental school or you're just starting, that you almost have to go into a large group practice. And here in California, we might be ahead of what's considered the norm in the rest of the country. But we have a lot of huge 30, 40 chair practices where it's the only place you can get a job. And they're dealing in HMO dentistry. And I know from personal stories, and I won't tell them, but I've worked with other dentists who told me that they just do things that are unethical because they're maxing out whatever they can to create the dollars that are needed to run that type of a practice. And my concern is, in that train of thought, that if you're a young dentist, you just went to dental school, you learned what considered ideal dentistry is, but you haven't yet learned what practical dentistry is. And you're going to get some bad examples set in front of you in that type of an environment. So if you can learn what you can, as Sean mentioned earlier, take what you can out of that type of a situation, I think that's great. But for a career, I just don't see anybody lasting that long. It'll mentally drain you, or you'll just become basically a bad dentist. If you're out there and you're able to been doing that for 10 years, God bless you. But I just don't see how you can do that.
So what about on some of the other advice you can give some of the newer dentists starting off? What do you think? Some of the do's and don'ts? Maybe try to get into not a mill type situation, but try to find an associateship or start your own practice. What's some advice you can give some of the newer guys just starting off?
Well, I can only speak from what I've seen. Personally, as soon as I left dental school, I went to practice in back then was a large group practice. There were 4 other dentists, and it was a great experience. Unfortunately, I did children's dentistry for 3 years straight and learned how to do everything really fast and very efficient. But it came a point where I decided I wanted my own practice. And I kind of think that that's where most graduates, I'm sure there's some that are just can go ahead and kick butt and get out there and start their own practice. But for most, from what I've seen in my years, you don't really, I feel you don't know what you're really doing in anything unless you've been out at least 10 years. Maybe some people can disagree, but when you have seen over and over again situations where the outcomes could be different, you already know when you see the broken tooth on the x-ray, whether it's salvageable or not. I don't even have to go and look in the mouth. You just know crown to root ratio, and where someone might try and do heroics. Yeah, you can put that post in, but you're not going to get Farrell's rule and get that 2 millimeters of tooth structure on the root to make sure it's going to be a long lasting crown. And I just think that little bit of information you gather from older dentists in a group practice is invaluable.
That's beautiful, Dr. Brown. Well said, man. Well said. And I just think, you got a good head on your shoulders, man. That's why you're so successful at your practice, why you're kicking butt. How are we doing as a lab? We doing okay?
You guys are doing great. I've got no problems. Unfortunately, I'm not one of your people who's using a scanner yet, because I'm still having a lot of old CEREC crowns that I'm having to remove. And I find out I go so subgingival. I just don't see a scanner being able to quite capture that deep margin. And, we use lasers to open up the sulcus and everything, but I'll be sold one day. They'll come along with a nice small version.
I think we can scan those subgingival margins quite easily. I might have to get my 3Shape guy over there with a little loaner at your office, show you what it's about, and get you excited about that. I got one of my doctors out of Florida. He just is getting one right now too, and he thought the same thing, because he's a double cord guy, but he likes to go sub, and I don't know, man. I think they got that thing licked. So we'll see. We'll see what we can come up with. But if it can make your job easier, and we could do it to where we can really crunch numbers to show you that it will pay for itself, and in a little bit of time, 6 months to a year. I mean, I think it's a neat thing. I think I think it's just it's the future for sure. And I think we can wait another couple years still, and it still might have improved quite a bit. And costs, I think, are going to go down. They got to go down. I mean, they're in the 30s and 40s, and I think they're going to get down to the 10s to 20s. Once some of the other guys really start getting into it, and the technology's there, I think it's just kind of like back with the VCRs with the beta and all that stuff. They got cheaper and cheaper for the units in time. So it's best not to jump on it so quick. And I think we've gone through the quick parts. I think now it's coming to a really neat thing where if we can get pricing, it'll make sense for a lot more dentists. So
I agree.
But I think it'll be cool. Well, hey, Dr. Brown, man, I can't thank you enough. Charles Brown, do you ever get anything on that at all?
All the time, as I told you, even today.
What happened today?
I had a patient come in, and his first name wasn't Charles, but his middle name was Charles, and his last name was Brown.
No kidding.
That's why he chose my office.
Hey, man, it happened. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Brown, Charles Brown, I'm going there. That's why. No, that's so cool, dude. Well, hey, man, thank you so much. Thank you for all the work. If there's anything you need at all, I'm here every day. You know it. And just say, hey, Sean said, yeah, this roundhouse needs to be done in 3 days. And he said 50% off because I'm his best buddy. They'll go, Sean says that to everyone. No, just kidding. But hey, Dr. Brown, thank you so much, dude. I can't thank you enough for all the work. And I appreciate it, man. God bless you and your family. And we'll talk real soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Dental Up Podcast Show this week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or search the Dental Up Podcast on iTunes for our weekly feed. Don't forget to visit KeatingDentalArts.com/promo for exclusive offers. Keating Dental Arts is a full-service dental laboratory, and we're nationwide. We'd love for you to send us a case so we can show you the Keating difference. If you dig what you heard, please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll be back next week.